Zero Emissions Byron pay our respects to the Arakwal, Midjinbul and Nyungbul clans of the Bundjalung Nation. We acknowledge the intimate relationship they have with the lands, waters, plants and animals of Byron Shire. Hi, I'm Ren McLean from Zero Emissions Byron. We're on the hunt for Byron's carbon drawdown champions, everyday people who are tackling climate change by reducing and sequestering carbon emissions. Claire is a trailblazer and she's one of the first people to join the Replant Byron Alliance, and using the fullCAM methodology, which is the formal methodology used by the Australian government, we've estimated that Claire has sequestered around 550 tonnes of carbon per year through the trees that she's planted here. So this is equivalent to the annual emissions from around 250 cars, and over the 27 years is about 15,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide that you've sequestered through the trees that you've planted.
It's amazing. My name is Claire Oelrichs and my husband Ian and I moved here in 1991. When I came here I was a working veterinarian and I've always wanted to be involved in conservation. We wanted to do something worthwhile, and restoring rainforest to a degraded property seemed like a good idea at the time, although we had no idea what we were getting into and how hard it would be. He chose this land because it was so steep and degraded, and being a landscape architect he wanted to be involved in restoring it and then left me to do the work. We funded this project ourselves based on what we wanted to do. We started low-key in 1992 and then we got the planting teams in 1995-96. I think we're about 40 hectares and we assess that now we've treed up 30 of those 40 hectares. We estimate we've probably planted 50,000 trees. So because the soil was so eroded and degraded and had washed away largely, we just came along and put trees in it thinking that they'll grow, it'll rain and they'll grow. And we had large areas, really large areas, where trees failed to grow over 10 years. So we used dry compost and we mixed the dry, very high quality live compost with lots of bacteria and funguses, and that kick-started the trees. An amazing growth. Swamp wallabies are pretty ferocious with regard to eating seedlings. They'll eat the whole tree down to the ground. And so we did have a lot of losses, and then we realised we had to cage up each individual tree. The aim with plantings is to get to canopy so that you don't get so much undergrowth of grasses and other unpleasant weeds like lantana. That probably took 15 years. Really, I still walk over the property and will pull out lantanas and look for any sort of horrible thing that comes in an outbreak. Suddenly we realised that none of the trees were propagating themselves. There were no baby trees anywhere. It became apparent we weren't getting pollination, so we brought in bees and that changed the pollination story. So this is our native beehive box, which is working to pollinate all these trees. And there's just baby trees that come up everywhere now. So native bees, I think, are essential if you want to do reforestation and get it going of its own accord. I guess I see us as the kind of protector of the ecosystem now. You bring back biodiversity and animals come in and they help spread more diversity by dropping seeds all over the place. We've put a nest box way up for parrots. The koalas have been a great excitement now that we've got koalas here. But one of my favourites is the gliders, and we've got a lot of sugar gliders now. But there's all the living components in the soil, all the little creatures, from earthworms down to tiny beetles and then down to all the bacterial components. And they all have carbon in their bodies and they all depend on the carbon. The trees drop their litter, and then the funguses and bacteria break down the carbon that's in the branches and the leaves, and they take it down into the soil, and some of that is fed to the trees to grow and some of it's sequestered there long term. And I think the trees grow faster every year because there's more carbon falling on the surface and more live components in the soil. There's a lot of land turning over at the moment. There's a lot of buying and selling going on. I think it's very important to look at what this land was meant to be and what it was like historically and try to turn it back, give it a chance to get back to that.
I encourage everybody to join Replant Byron Alliance and also to get professional advice to increase your success.